We're back! We're back with our next round of eyeshadow palettes, this time not ColourPop. If you watched my first video, you'll know that I did one video where it was just ColourPop palettes, and then another video, which is this one, that is the not ColourPop palettes for those of you who don't support or like ColourPop. And that's what this video is going to be today. We're going to talk about springtime appropriate palettes that are not ColourPop palettes. The first of which is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies Magic Hour palette. This is like my perfect everyday palette. It fulfills so many of my aesthetic dreams in every single way that like I don't know what else I really need. But specifically for springtime, this is a really pretty one. Just the colors are so light and so airy and so approachable and flowery. Like they just remind me of flowers, you know? Like a spring morning after the rain has just stopped and the clouds are going away, and it's truly that like magic hour. It's just a beautiful palette. I can't recommend this one enough. The shimmers in here are just so mind-blowing and dimensional. The Magic Hour shimmer, which is this peachy shimmer up here, it's a duochrome peach. So it's a yellow peach duochrome shift. There is a slight duochrome with this champagne-y color up top here. In the pan, it looks very champagne, like a straight up champagne shimmer. But when you put it on the eyes, there is a very light peach shift to it that is just amazing, stellar, gorgeous. And then this bronze shimmer at the bottom is just, it's just so nice. I love wearing it on my eye just as a shimmer with nothing else. Any of these colors work just really well on their own on the eye as a one and done look. So this one, if you want something small, compact, with minimal choice, just something that you can like throw on and leave, but it's also very muted and appropriate for every day, then this is a really great one. It is a bit pricey. This small thing is like $36 US, and on top of that you have to pay duties and taxes when you're shipping it to countries that are not the US, which is expensive, but I still think it's worth it and I don't regret buying this. The next palette that I have to recommend is the Kaleidos Lunar Lavender. Oh no, little slip just slid right out. It's very purple, it is very lavender, it's floral, and if it's floral, it makes me think of springtime because I love flowers in the spring. Go figure. Collidos is one of my absolute favorite, if not my favorite makeup brand. Their shimmers and their mattes are both equally as amazing. I don't think I could recommend them enough. I love their eyeshadow formula more than life itself. This palette is just gorgeous. It's amazing. If you like purples, if you like Kaleidos, if you like otherworldly and ethereal shimmers, this is the palette for you. They're very affordable as well. For an indie brand, I find they're incredibly affordable. These palettes go for like $24 and they very often have sales. And I don't find these to be patchy at all. Like, I know that this one in particular has had some mixed reviews when it comes to patchiness, but I haven't found that that's been the case. I found that these are formulated very, very well for like, because purples are usually the most difficult ones to formulate. But I found that these ones work incredibly well. I love them very, very much, and I can't get enough out of this palette. It's just gorgeous. The next one I have to recommend is the Odenzai Skuld palette. This one is worth noting that it is an all shimmer palette. This whole collection had a very jewel tone theme to it, but this one in particular, because it had some more lighter shimmers, made me think of the springtime a lot, just because of the tones of the shimmers in here. You have like a light blue, you have pink, yellow, orange, green, and like a darker sort of navy teal blue. But that's what that looks like. It's so pretty. I love Odenzai's eyeshadows so much, and their shimmers in particular are some of my favorite shimmers that exist. I would say that they're on par with the Kaleidos shimmers, with just how special and unique that they are and how well they go on the eyes with minimal fallout. Like, I don't experience that much fallout with their shimmers. There is still some, but if you can manage it, it's manageable. It's nothing like Anastasia Beverly Hills fallout. I love these shimmers so much. If you're not into an all shimmer palette though, this might not be for you, but if you're looking for something that is very spring themed and you're wanting to try out a new shimmer formula, I would recommend this, especially if it can be used with your other palettes in your collection as an accent palette. And yes, this was part of their Norns collection, their newest collection that they recently released back in January. I think it was January. Yeah, I think it was the end of January that they released these. But this is one of the three sisters of the Norns. I believe this one is the sister of the future. Yes, the youngest sister of the future. This is Skuld. Skuld? 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 The next palette I have to talk about is also an Odenzai palette. This is the Elva 2 Forest palette. That's what that looks like. Very springtime. Like it's these light greens with these pinks and a light teal minty green, this light blue over here. This shimmer is wild. This shimmer is so pretty. One of my favorites that I have in my whole collection. I absolutely love it. And paired with this like yellow green shimmer, it's just amazing. This is probably one of my favorite palettes that I have from Odenzai, just because of how unique this color story is. And there's just something about it that just really speaks to me. And of the mini palettes, because I have all three of them, the mini palettes in their Elva 2 lineup, this one was the most springtime appropriate, I find. The colors just really scream spring to me. And the packaging, I just can't get over this packaging. It's like a little fairy design on the front. I can't get enough of Odenzai's eyeshadow formula. I really think that it's something special, and other than like Kaleidos, I would say that it's probably my favorite. Like between Collidos and Odenzai, I don't really know which one to pick because I love both of them so much, and their concepts are just so different from one another and unique that it's like it's worth getting all of it for me, just because I just love them both so much. Another palette that I think is really great for springtime, and this is a brand that just released their first products in the past like few months, like earlier, like before Christmas was when they released their first product, and that is Game Beauty and the Adventure palette. This is the first palette that they ever came out with. The color story is like green and purple and yellow and very forest themed, and that's why I think it's very springtime themed, because it invokes those kinds of those colors and those feelings of springtime with like the different shades of green that they have in here, and then even the yellow and the orange and the purple. It just makes me think of flowers and forests, and the packaging itself like really just is all kinds of perfect and amazing for springtime and just for any time, because I love it. The theming of this palette is very apt for me as a game developer. As soon as I heard it's like, oh, we're a makeup company that's based on video games, I'm like, sign me up. I'm gonna buy everything, I guess. This is very easy to use. All of the colors are very blendable. No fallout, none whatsoever with this palette. No fallout whatsoever, which is super impressive. There is one pressed glitter, which I wish was not in here, but their newest palette, which was just revealed today and is releasing on the 19th, I believe, that one does not have a pressed glitter in it, and the color story looks beautiful, and it'll take everything that I have within me to not buy it and break my no buy. Hopefully in 2022 it'll still be there and then I can buy it, but for now this one will have to do. It's beautiful, I love it, and it's a pleasure to use every single time that I use it, and very springtime appropriate with this color story, so I would 1000% recommend. It's not cheap, but the quality is really good. The packaging is beautiful. The theming is perfect. I love everything about this palette, and I do not regret buying it. The next palette that I want to talk about is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette. This one is probably on literally everybody's springtime palette list. It's very spring color evoking. Like you have pinks, you have purples, you have light muted orange and cream and darker mauvey purple red things. I don't know. This color Soul is probably my favorite one in the palette. Go figure, it's probably everyone's favorite one in the palette. I really love it. The colors in here are all just really pretty. Like I enjoy this palette a lot, and I think it's one of their more underrated ones, but I got it like significantly after it came out, like years after. I only got it like this past year in 2020. So I may have just missed the hype train when it came to this palette, but for the time period that I got it in and just for what I used it for on myself, I really enjoyed it. And I think it's very apt for the springtime. Like it's perfect. Just even the coloring of the packaging itself, it makes me think of springtime. Just so much springtime. If you like purple but you don't want to go overboard on purple, it might be a good one to go with. So I have another one that has a sort of similar color story but is definitely more springtime appropriate, I find, is the Nabla Soul Blooming palette. This one is just so special. There's something about this that just tugs at my heartstrings like no other palette does. Not even the Norvina. The Norvina is what I got when I didn't have this palette to kind of substitute the aesthetic that this palette gave. And then I managed to get my hands on this palette and still love the Norvina, but this was the whole reason that I even bought the Norvina, was to kind of emulate this aesthetic. And I will say right off the bat that some of these shades are phenomenal. Like, they're not dupeable. Like, you can't, just because like this duochrome here, Garden Gate, it's like a duochrome purpley pink, is out of this world phenomenal. Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Same thing with this like green pink duochrome called Philosophy. I love it. And then this flowery like lavender purple shade is just, I love it so much. This is my perfect spring palette. If there was one palette that I would say you have to pick up for spring, it's this one. This is my number one palette for spring. I love it so much. It's so beautiful. The mattes are just pillowy soft. Like, if you put your finger in one of them and just swatch it out, it feels like you're touching velvet. The packaging is also beautiful. Just like look at that packaging. Look how pretty it is. I don't honestly know if it is still available. I think they have it on Beauty Bay. Last time I looked, they didn't have it on their website, but I know Beauty Bay had it the last time I looked. It looks like almost everything is sold out of the Nabla Soul Blooming palette, or they just don't have it on their website anymore. So that one might be discontinued. So if you have it, might be a good opportunity to bring it out and start using it again, just to appreciate it, because it's so pretty, and I know I'm very glad to have been able to pick it up before it vamoosed into the ethers of non-existence. If you can get a hold of it, I would recommend. Otherwise, if you already have it, appreciate what you've got. We're down to our last two recommendations for non-ColourPop eyeshadow palettes for springtime. One being another Kaleidos palette is the Escape Pod. That's what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. I'm using 3 shades from this palette. I'm using Carnival, which is this light coral peach shade. I'm using Saturnalia, which is this green shimmer, this darker green shimmer, and then I'm using Starlight Sonata, this kind of like creamy pink shimmer all over the eyelid. I didn't think I was gonna like this palette when I first saw it. And I didn't buy it for a really long time because I was like, oh, I don't really think that that's gonna fit me. I really don't think that I'm gonna like using that. And I finally caved and got it because I was curious, and because I had recently gotten the Club Nebula palette, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get their other larger palette just to see how it is. And I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I understand so much now why people are like, oh, this is my favorite Kaleidos palette. I get it. Because it's formulated so well, the colors are so beautiful, like there's so much you can do with it. I thought upon looking at it that the 2 orange shades and the 2 green shades were very similar. Like, looking at them in the actual pans, they do look incredibly similar, but when you swatch them out, they're very different. That top orange is very much more orange, and that bottom orange is a lot more like corally peach. So there is quite a bit of a difference. There's more difference between those oranges than there is between those 2 greens, but even between the 2 greens, there is a difference to them. Like, I can see the difference. Yeah, I just really love this palette. It's like nothing else that I have. It's very unique. Like, I cannot dupe this out in my collection with anything else. I haven't seen anything really like this. Just on the basis of uniqueness, this one is quite special and amazing. And because the colors are a bit lighter, they're still very vibrant, but they're a bit lighter in tone. I think this is a great springtime palette, just because there's a lot of pinks, there's a lot of greens, there's purple. As futuristic and sci-fi of vibes that this palette gives off, it still invokes that floralness that I expect from a springtime palette, you know? There's just something about it that screams springtime to me, and I really love it. Like, the look that I put on today using this palette just really makes me think of spring. And yeah, I love this palette, and I'm so glad that I took a chance on it. I'm so glad. The very last palette that I have to talk about today is from Musee Beauty. It's their Impressionism palette. This one, just from looking at it, you can tell why I picked it as a springtime palette. There's a lot of pinks, there's a lot of greens, there's red, there's brown. Like, you can make a very beautiful spring look with this. There's blues. Really, what else is there to say? It's inspired by Monet's water lilies. The formula is amazing. In the same vein as Nabla, their mattes are incredibly soft. Their shimmers are very buttery and like, oh, I love the way that their shimmers swatch out. The only thing that I would say is if you swatch this too much, it starts to go hard pan quite quickly. But it's easy to reverse the hard pan. Like I didn't have any problems going in and using the colors after they started to hard pan a little bit and kind of like using that up and reversing it. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. I love this palette. I love the color story. So the packaging is just beautiful. Like all of Musee Beauty's packaging is just gorgeous. I will buy like literally anything that they release. I wish I'd been able to pick up their Le Jardin palette. That one was really beautiful, but no buy. I'm sticking to the rules of my no buy, damn it. I fucked up in February. We're not fucking up again. Packaging is not only beautiful, but the inside of the palette as well is beautiful and very springtime invoking. Water lilies. Water lilies. It's also an incredibly versatile palette. Like you have so many different color stories and so many different looks that you can get out of this palette just because of how many different colors that they offer. Whenever given the choice, I will always choose versatility over literally everything else. So just on the basis of versatility, this is probably one of my favorite palettes. It's so good. I definitely think I like multicolor palettes more than I do monochrome palettes. While I still do like monochrome palettes, I like to have that versatility and that freedom to kind of make multiple looks with one palette. If you feel the same way, let me know. Or if you like monochrome palettes more, let me know that too. But that concludes this video and the second of my 2 videos about springtime palettes. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope that if you have any of these palettes that you'll find the inspiration to pull them out of your collection and use them again. I know I definitely have. If you don't have any of these palettes and you're just here to listen to some recommendations, I really hope this video was helpful to you. If you ended up picking any of these palettes up, let me know. If you liked this video and you want to see more content like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, the subscribe button is down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. The world could use a lot of help right now. There's a lot of people struggling at this point in time, so please check out my social justice corner down in the description box. As always, stay educated and stay informed. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.